What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Weekly. I'm your host, Pee Wee the Plug, the number one Knicks fan in the world. And in today's video, we're here to talk about the 2022 NBA All-Star selections. I just watched live, pick by pick on TNT. Draymond Green was up there, now with Warner Media and Turner Sports. So shout out to Draymond Green, who was selected. We'll get to the picks for the East and the West. It's already been a crazy start to All-Star this year. With Andrew Wiggins being selected as an all-star starter, that had Twitter up in flames. We had people talking down on Wiggins. Obviously, all the Warrior, Timberwolves, and Canadians who love Wiggins were defending their boy. We had think pieces and new systems on how to change all-star voting and finger pointing on who to blame. All these things before we even got down to the reserves. So let's start with out west and the selections that were made. The first one that was revealed was Devin Booker, which I am a big Devin Booker fan, as all of y'all may know by now. But besides me even being a fan, I thought it was really, really weird that he wasn't a starter. That was one of my bones to pick with the whole starter process. And I'm never one of the guys who cares about the starter snub. I actually hate the word snub. I feel like the word snub is being overused. And it's kind of played out because every year us NBA fans and NBA people should go into All-Star knowing that somebody isn't going to make it. You know what I mean? It's only 24 spots. There's more than 24 capable All-Star players or caliber All-Star players in the league. So what that tells us is that people are going to be left off. It just is what it is, and we have to come with the understanding of that's what's going to happen year in and year out. But for the first time, I did feel like, damn, wait a minute. Y'all tell us that it's all about winning year in and year out. That's why this guy should be over him. And the Suns have been the best team for a minute now after things kind of settled down. They've been pretty dominant, and he's one of the reasons why he's been on a dominant stretch. And for him to not be a starter and for that team to be the number one team in the entire NBA and for them to not have a starter while the Warriors, who's below them, has two, was a bit of a mind-boggling thing. But to not go back on a Wiggins as a starter conversation, I am happy and was pleased and not surprised. I already knew Devin Booker was a guy that we could lock in. But as a Devin Booker fan who once heard him be categorized as a stat padding guy who couldn't be on a winning team, and if he was on a winning team, his numbers would drop, it wouldn't be the same impact, yada yada yada. Last year, incredible run for him. The first time he makes the playoffs, goes all the way to the finals. Some people thought it was a fluke. I'm not a person who thought the run was a fluke, but I definitely thought if there was ever going to be a chance for Phoenix, that was the year. Proves to me that I was wrong, because it looks like they're going to be back in contender conversation where they are. They're back, and they're going to be looking to make another run this year. So shout out to Devin Booker. After Devin, we had Luca Doncic, a guy who was on my All-Star ballot when I made my votes. I think Luca has been phenomenal all year. Early on in the season, a lot of talk about him and his performance because it wasn't the same Luca magic that we began to get accustomed to seeing. So I think Luca is going to be a player for the next coming years who's always going to have a bit of weird criticism because he, from an early age, since he's came in, he's put up some phenomenal numbers and kind of has spoiled us as viewers and as basketball fans. And I feel like the moment he isn't having a 40-point triple-double, it's always going to be looked at with a magnifying glass, and his game is going to be picked apart very, very quickly if he's not doing astronomical things. But the Mavericks have been good. He's been leading them, and though he isn't having the 40-point triple-doubles every other night, he's still been a very impactful player, and there should never be a time where him giving us 25, 8, and 8 should ever be looked at like bad or down year. Like the fact that people have called this year for him a down year, and I know recently he's been getting back into the groove of things, it's still crazy that this was being considered a down year for Luka. That just tells you the expectation and how high of an expectation that he has carved out for himself already as a young player. But I love to see Luka there, very, very deserving, and I know he's going to be on these all-star ballots and all-star lists for years to come. The next guy, Rudy, Big Rudy, with Utah. Much deserved for him. Another guy that was on my ballot. I think Rudy is always going to be a tricky guy to give credit to for some people because he gets all the love in the regular season, the defensive player of the year, and all of that different things. Then he has the moments in the playoffs where, unfortunately, teams find ways to isolate him and kind of, even him out to not be as effective in a 7-game series rather than the way he's effective defensively in the regular season. And I think because of that, a lot of people like to try to discredit him because it's like, oh, it's the same thing. He does it in the regular season, but then he doesn't do it in the playoffs. The Jazz are a joke. I can't take them serious, yada, yada, yada. But when you really think about it, his impact defensively is damn near some shit we've never seen before. He dominates all defensive metrics, analytics, and I'm not even an analytic guy, but the facts are the facts. He's the best rim protector we've seen in a very long time. I don't want to say ever, but a very long time. And this year I felt like he's taken a little right step in the right direction as far as offensively, being a little bit more aggressive here and there. He hasn't made the overall evolution into being an effective scoring big against mismatches and different things like that. Don't know if that'll ever be him, but I do like the fact that from my own eyes, when I have tuned in and watched some Utah Jazz games, though they haven't been the best as of late, I did see part of Rudy where he was a little bit more aggressive on the offensive side of the basketball. And as long as they can get that from him, at some point they're going to need it because every team is going to try to offset them with small ball and pull him away from that rim. So if he can try to find ways to make defenses pay on the opposite side on his offensive game and expose mismatches, then I think Rudy will be much more easier for fans to give credit to that don't. A lot of us love Rudy. We understand what he brings to the table, but we also, as a guy who's criticized him before, know that there is some other things that he needs to work on besides the defensive side of the basketball. But, of course, Rudy is an all-star, deservingly so. No surprise there to me. The next guy we have, Draymond Green from the Golden State Warriors, which gives them 3 all-star selections this year. We got to check how many times a team has had 3 all-star selections. They have to be one of the top teams because they've had it so many times. Draymond, deserving. Again, just like Rudy. A guy who I think a lot of people find hard to classify or give credit to because box score watchers don't really know how to understand or appreciate Draymond Green. But if you watch the game of basketball and you know what he brings and how much he means to the Warriors and their defense and how they go, then you'll understand the value of Draymond Green without having to see a stat sheet. And that's exactly what he is. Very instrumental to the entire Warrior program and system that they run offensively and defensively. They've killed the league defensively again for another year, which is a scary sign because when they are effective defensively, it really means that they're probably going to put together a strong playoff run and make another attempt to win another ring. The thing about Draymond Green, though, is that he's hurt. And he was on the TNT show with Shaq, Kenny, Ernie, and Chuck saying that he was happy to be an all-star, but he wasn't going to be able to be available to play, which means he's going to need an all-star replacement. There's a few options. The West ain't the best, but we have DeJounte. We have Brandon Ingram. They were talking about Jaren Jackson Jr. Don't know much about that, but it's going to be very interesting to see who they decide to pick to replace Draymond because Brandon Ingram has been very, very good, but my boy DeJounte has had a hell of a season. So I'm rooting for DeJounte to get that shot. I would love to see him sneak in. Been very, very deserving. So that's going to be something for y'all to watch out for too. Hopefully it's DeJounte. I'm hoping. A second Utah Jazz player, Donovan Mitchell, who's recently just cleared the concussion protocol. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell. The Utah Jazz could use him back to start getting things back on track for them. Another guy who's not a surprise. Donovan Mitchell has been electrifying this year. He's been one of the reasons that the Jazz got off to another good start this year. And I think it's only right when the Jazz are successful that Rudy and Donovan get it because there's always been that discussion. I think we've made it clear over the past season or so, especially with the last year's playoffs, Donovan Mitchell is their guy. But when it comes to the totality of success for the Utah Jazz, you have to credit both Donovan and Rudy because Rudy plays such a pivotal part to the defense. And obviously, Donovan is all of their offense. So I love to see when they both get get their flowers and are selected to the All-Star game. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell. Him and Devin Booker both making it. The NBA is in good hands when it comes to that shooting guard position. We got Donovan, Devin, Zach Levine, Jaylen Brown. I love the future of the shooting guard position. Jalen Green was the second overall pick. He's had a tough year to start, but hopefully he start getting it. And it's a bunch of other guys that I can name, but I love to see where that position is going. Just because growing up for me, the Kobe's, Tracy McGrady's, Dwayne Wade, Ray Allen, that position was always like, you know, the sexy position that everybody wanted to be. So shout out to Donovan Mitchell, another All-Star selection for him. Wrapping it up with the West reserves, Chris Paul. Phoenix's second All-Star selection behind Devin Booker. Chris Paul, it's nothing much that I can say. I'm just impressed that he keeps going and playing at the level he's playing at this age. Again, kind of similar to Rudy and Donovan. When they talk about the success of the Phoenix Suns, you have to credit Devin Booker and Chris Paul when you're talking about that. Devin Booker has been there for the lows, has played well in these highs. And obviously, it's not solely Chris Paul, but there is no coincidence that once he came to that team, they elevated to even higher levels and made the runs that they made. And I think he's done a very good job for the organization and for D-Book to help take something off of his plate and allow him to rise to the occasion. And I think they deserve to have these two guys representing them at All-Star Weekend. And then to wrap things up, a guy who I've missed the last year or so in the All-Star game, whether it was injuries, lack of success with his team, Karl-Anthony Towns, one of the guys who used to always be in a conversation with Jokic, Embiid, or Cat, and I feel like he's kind of fell out of that conversation, and especially as of recent, it's just been Joel and Jokic. But Karl-Anthony Towns, man, one of the best shooting bigs, if not the best shooting bigs of all time. The Timberwolves have been playing really good basketball. I hope that they can continue it to make a playoff push. He is definitely worthy of that All-Star selection, and that is it for the West. I think the West side is great. I really don't have any complaints. All of these guys made my ballot when I voted. The only thing different in totality is that I didn't have Andrew Wiggins as an All-Star, and I damn sure didn't have him as an All-Star starter. That's probably the only thing, but I think they pretty much nailed the West. Now, for the East, to start us off, Jimmy Butler. Not much to say about Jimmy Butler. He's the driving force for that Miami Heat team. I think that Miami Heat team is not getting enough recognition as a real contender. That team is really, really good. I love that team. I love watching the team. Even with the unsung heroes, Max Strus, Gabe Vincent, Dwayne Dedmon, they just got a lot going on there. And then when you add in the Jimmys, the Bams, heroes, Duncan Robinson at any moment, Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, that team is serious and dangerous, and being led by Jimmy Butler makes them gritty. I wouldn't want to see them in a 7-game series, so I love the fact that Jimmy Butler was able to get the All-Star nod this year. Next, drum roll please. First time All-Star, Darius Garland. Perfect. I was so ecstatic to see Darius Garland make it. In my ballot, at the time of voting, I had Jared Allen making it for them because I knew Cleveland needed somebody to represent them. The front court was a lot thinner as far as selections and guys who were playing all-star level basketball in the front court. And I felt it was going to be easier to get Jared Allen in versus Darius Garland, who was in a position where there was Fred, LaMelo, Beal, Levine, Jaylen Brown. But to my surprise, they were able to get Darius Garland in, and I think that's great for Cleveland. Great for Darius Garland. I've been a very, very big Darius Garland guy since his rookie year when a lot of people was talking down on him because he didn't have the best start. But he got through it. He's playing good basketball. He's exciting to watch. And I hope a lot of people who don't know will be waking up because he's a very, very exciting player, man. Very, very, very exciting with the pass and the shooting, the range. He's going to be fun to watch on that All-Star stage in Cleveland in front of the home crowd. Next, James Harden. No surprise here. James Harden, Brooklyn Nets have been on fire. Not on fire. I'm sorry. They've been actually the opposite of on fire. But they've been atop of the East all year as we expected. He has had stretches where he didn't look so good to start the year, but as of late and towards the middle of everything, he started to get his rhythm and really stand out and been a very, very focal point for them since obviously the first start of the season, Kyrie wasn't available. Hopefully they can start getting things together. Durant is going to be gone for a while. Rehabbing from his injury, and I don't know if they really want to slip too far I understand it's the Brooklyn Nets. They probably don't really give a damn where they are seeding, but you definitely want them to start having some momentum and some rhythm as a team collectively heading into the playoffs, because I feel like last year that was something that kind of caught up with them. The fact of they didn't have enough chemistry, enough time on the court altogether. If this guy was gone, that guy wasn't there. He came back, then he got hurt. Feeling like the same thing this year. So hopefully they can get it going. But James Harden, no surprise there. Zach Levine, my next guy. Same thing with Booker, man. I love Zach Levine. I've been a big Zach Levine guy since he was at UCLA. Again, another guy that I had to argue with people about the empty stats thing. He's not this, he's not that, he's not this, he's not that. I love seeing Zach Levine get his flowers. Another all-star guy that's going to be super, super exciting, just like Darius Garland, always up for some posters, some dunks. And a guy who I think could sneak in and take away an all-star game MVP. So watch out for Zach Levine. And shout out to the Chicago Bulls, man, playing at a level where they deserve 2 all-stars. That's big, big shit. In a quick turnaround. So shout out to Zach Levine. Now this one is one that really caught me off guard. I won't lie. I wasn't expecting his name. When I filled out my ballot, I did not have this guy on there. And I'll be honest, he's not having a bad year at all. He's having a very solid, good year. He's always been that type of player. This guy is not a guy who's ever you're going to be able to say is bad or whatever. But I can't lie. I was surprised. And that's Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton is on a good Milwaukee Bucks team. This is not their greatest team. They have been better as of late rather than when they started the year. They had a lot going on. A lot of teams, with the COVID situations and guys missing games and different things. But I really didn't think at all that Chris Middleton was going to be an all-star. And I don't know if it's for me to blame. I don't know if I'm sleeping on Chris Middleton. I'll be honest. But I know the East has a weak front court. I know they do. Because when I was making my ballot, I was like, man, where would I get this guy? Where would I get that guy? But if it was this weak, and this is not a Chris Middleton. He's a very good player. I would just have rather them giving Jared Allen a nod. Just give the Cleveland Cavaliers 2 All-Stars. When I look around at the teams and at the standings, and we'll pull it up in current time, I know the Milwaukee Bucks are good, but it ain't like they're great. Okay, they're 4th at 32-21. The Cavaliers are 31-21. I'm not sure when they made these selections, but the Cavs haven't been that far away from the Bucks. And again, Chris Middleton, it ain't like he's just killing shit out here. It's good year. I would have gave that nod to Jared Allen. You can't give it to LaMelo because LaMelo is a backcourt player. And again, also, what also makes this tricky is if Chris Middleton is selected as a frontcourt player, or was he one of the last 2? Because what they do is they do 2 backcourt players, 3 frontcourt players for starters. Then the first 5 reserves are 2 backcourt, 3 frontcourt again. And then the last 2 picks don't matter what position you play. So I would have rather them pick Jared Allen. And then the last 2, you could just make 2 guards: Bradley Beal, LaMelo, Fred, guard, whatever. And then Jason Tatum gets that 4 position, and Jason Tatum is the next position. Jason Tatum is a for sure guy that I knew was going to make it. Unlike Chris Middleton, Jason Tatum is the guy that we're going to see for the next, I don't know, however many years. He's going to be a perennial all-star. We know we're getting for him. Just like Zach Levine, Jason Tatum is a guy that can sneak up and fill it up in a hurry. I just don't know how much Jason Tatum is going to get the easy ones. And I think All-Star Game MVP is about guys who leaking out, getting dunks and stuff like that, which is what Zach Levine is going to be doing, shooting threes. Jason Tatum really gets his game on isolation, which he'll get a chance to do, but you're not going to get too much of that. So we'll see. And then the last but not least, Fred VanVleet. And if you watch my All-Star Ballot video, you know why I'm happy for Fred. Even though I do think LaMelo should have made it in some way because of the way he plays, his aura, his flair. The Hornets are good. Again, don't know when this was recorded. They're better than the Raptors, so I don't know when they made their selections. Rather than when it was recorded, but when they made their selections for All-Star. But in a year like this, where there was so many 10 days and hardship contracts and guys coming in, fighting for minutes, fighting for an opportunity to be on the NBA roster, to live out their dream for everything that they worked for, Fred VanVleet being an all-star is a great representation for that moment that we had in the league for a little bit of time. This is a guy who was undrafted, worked his way in into getting a G League opportunity with the Raptors, grinded through G League, made their bench, grinded from the bench to being one of the first people off the bench. Then he was the backup, sixth man. Then he started and started next to Lowry. Then he got good enough to, not take Lowry's job, but put the Raptors in a comfortable enough position to let Lowry walk. He won a championship. Now this guy is an all-star. He got paid a very hefty and big contract, and he's playing, beyond what he's getting paid. And he keeps betting on himself, which is his thing, and he's doing big shit. So I'm happy for Fred. It's a good message for everybody that's trying to live out the NBA dream. He's very deserving. He's been playing on another level. He's had some crazy games, and the Raptors are starting to get rolling. I really like that team. Would love to see them make a move for some type of inside presence, but Fred deserves it. And that's really it for me. I think this All-Star, they really nailed it. Chris Middleton surprised me. Would have loved to see LaMelo, but I don't think it's that big of a deal because Fred and Garland is in. They're just as deserving. Also would have loved to see Jared Allen, but I don't think it's too much to fuss or make a fight about. So all in all, I'm happy with this All-Star. I know a lot of people might find a way to cry about it because somebody from their team didn't make it. But I think we got to give the NBA a round of applause considering that we have a flawed voting system and they still found a way to get the guys that I think deserve and that we want to see in it. Anything y'all disagree with these selections, y'all let me know. Also, subscribe, hit that like button, and I will see y'all next time. I'm Pee Wee the Plug. This is NBA Weekly. And don't be out there crying and whining about no damn All-Star list. Comment if you disagree. But please do not be talking about snubs and don't be making a big deal out of this. Let's enjoy All-Star Weekend for once. That's my message. I'm out. Peace.